Ask yourself the damn question. Is winning the only thing to you?
Sports today are not just played on the field. They're played every day, online, all over the world, by sports fans just like you.
Don't you dare breathe. That won't get you anywhere. If you don't think you're a winner, you don't belong here.
The Star Fantasy League Show puts you in control of your own team. Find out who to sit, who to start, how to play, and have your daily fantasy sports questions answered with your host, Jonathan Sprung, and co-host SFL CEO Zach Stanley and Nick Steblenko. The Star Fantasy League Show is on the air now.
Hello and welcome to the Star Fantasy League Show here on 105.5 The Team in Rochester. I am your host, Jonathan Sprung, joined, as always, by SFL CEO, Mr. Zach Stanley.
Happy Friday, Jonald. It looks like this show's going to be a breeze.
That was right off the bat. Okay, that was in your face. A little aggressive with that.
Now we're cooking.
No.
Cooksin.
I was going to say there was too many cooks in the kitchen, but that was close. All right, Nick.
Baptist.
What?
You sound a little angry right there.
Yeah, that was not good. All right, Nick Steblenko, what do you got for us today?
No, normally when I'm angry, I flip somebody the bird. But, you on the other hand, you just like to yell.
I thought
Baptist.
I thought you were going to have two there. I thought you were going to go back to back with Bird and somebody else, but you didn't do it. You disappoint me a little bit there. If you couldn't already tell, we're punting it up about the New Orleans Saints today on the Star Fantasy League Show. But I think we should go back to talking about the Chicago Bears because, Nick, it made you angrier than I've seen anybody in a long time.
That didn't make me angry.
He got heated yesterday. If you haven't heard yesterday's show, please go on our website and check it out.
I don't think I was angry at all because, the Packers, they found a way to overcome their nemesis, and in Week 17, it was a good win.
Yeah, I believe you did write an article that just said, screw you, Chicago, and you killed it.
No, actually, I wrote 150 words, which is my shortest article of the season on the worst team in the NFL. I thoroughly enjoyed it. You know what I did, literally? And nobody even has to go read this article.
Like 10 sentences?
Yeah, it really is. Nobody even has to
funny.
read this. I'll tell you exactly what it says. It has 2013 highlights, 2011 highlights, and then it has Aaron Rodgers and Jay Cutler's stats, career stats, matched up against one another. And then it just says, how does that feel, Chicago?
See,
how does it feel?
If you wanted a real Chicago Bears article written from a Packers perspective, you should have just done the photoshopped pictures of Jay Cutler with a cigarette in his mouth.
Actually, I did one with him holding a cat.
Okay, that sounds about right.
Yes, and his sad face.
There's one with him in what is the man in the world thing?
The what?
The what?
The most
in the
interesting
world?
man in the
Oh,
world.
I thought you meant
But
the
it was
Vitruvian man.
I don't remember what it said. It was like I don't always
throw interceptions, but when I do, they're epic.
It was something.
Now
like
I'm looking it up.
I don't always throw touchdown passes, but when I do, it's to the wrong team. No, that should be Matt Schaub's picture because he kind of does that. All right,
Schwab.
All right, we'll get to this. Nick will look it up, I'm sure. We're looking at memes.
The one up there.
We're looking at memes on the show for some reason, but we need to be talking about what's in the news right now. And there was a football game last night. Did you get it yet? Did you get it?
I don't always throw interceptions, but when I do, I prefer to throw them in the red zone.
Well, yeah, that makes sense. All right, so we're talking about news and notes. There was a football game last night between a team I like and a team I could care less about. Steelers versus the Eagles. Eagles killed us.
Why don't you care about the Steelers?
Very funny.
The Eagles' offense looked very, very sharp, and given the fact that we've seen the Redskins not have a good showing, how the Cowboys' defense has played, and just the Giants overall,
all you have to say is
it
the
looks
Giants.
like this team has a pretty fair advantage in the division right now.
Yeah,
they just look ready.
Yeah, we talk about how that the NFC East is usually a toss-up, but this season it's pretty much everybody else and then Philadelphia.
Well, we'll see. I mean, there is one big question mark, and that is whether or not Jeremy Maclin can stay healthy. And last night he gave everybody a wonderful scare.
Yeah, we talked about before he was having quote-unquote knee problems.
Knee soreness?
Knee problems.
Soreness?
Yeah, I hate that because it could be anything from, he'll rest up for tomorrow or, 2 weeks of soreness.
This has to be scary. He hyperextends his knee, and then he comes back and plays.
Yeah, why? What he's the number one guy. What is the point of playing on an injury
maybe
in the
preseason? Maybe he had to prove something. I don't know.
I was very scared because I saw this thing. He went down. I was like, yep, classic hyperextension.
No contact, too.
No, just running.
Yeah, that's the. You know what? Actually, let's mix that up a little bit because there's another guy who went down, had the exact same thing, just running, clutching his knee, fell down. Garrett Richards for Los Angeles Anaheim Angels of Anaheim under the 405 freeway.
Those are the worst injuries. You never want to see those when all of a sudden out of nowhere a player just takes to the turf. That's it. You know what's up. There's three little letters.
Injury? Is it patella?
I don't know the exact. Yeah, I think it was.
Patellas
like
are just rampant right now. I don't know what's going on. Torn patellas are everywhere.
Any tendons in those knees, those are just not
But
good.
did you see the injury? Like, he was just running to first, and all of a sudden he kind of fell, and his knee just buckled under. It was really bad to watch.
Yeah.
It was sad. Like,
unfortunate for LA because they took over the division.
Yeah,
they
took
up over.
As of today, they're still up. They're up 2 games on Oakland.
That's a big blow, though. I mean, I know their offense can certainly get things done, but once they get to the playoffs, who's going to pitch now?
Right now, Oakland and the Tigers would be playing the play-in game.
Would they? Really?
Yeah, because
oh man, I didn't even notice that.
Right? Oh man, that would be the dirtiest play-in game because if
dirty is definitely a good word to describe it.
The Tigers lost yesterday on a David Price 1-hitter.
Yeah, that's insane.
That's
where did the power go? What happened?
I don't know what's going on.
It's
been the same thing for Oakland ever since Cespedes left, ever since Austin Jackson left. Both issues producing offense.
But Yoenis Cespedes is their 4th batter. He's the heart of their lineup. They still have Miggy, V-Mart, JD. They have all of the hitters that they need.
Yeah, he wasn't a guy.
Torrey.
Where did he bat? Where did Austin Jackson bat? He batted everywhere in that lineup.
Well,
Yeah, he
it was
batted
either
everywhere.
later, early.
Yeah,
leading
2nd or
off.
7th. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
This is very interesting. I don't think anybody saw that happening to the Tigers. You might be able to make a case for the A's to have a power outage on offense, but how did this happen?
All right, but
I'm still not in panic mode about the Tigers.
Here's a big question because whoever ends up facing the Angels in the playoffs, you usually have a 3-man rotation or 4 if you're not that good. What do the Angels do now that their top guy is just gone? Like, he's not going to pitch in the playoffs.
Yeah,
they're hoping he's back for spring training next season.
Yeah, I don't know. This is not good at all.
Here's the biggest question: who's your ace now? Who's your ace? Nobody's pitched that well outside of Garrett Richards.
I guess I would say C.J. Wilson. I know he hasn't done that well, but I mean, in a big situation, I think I would trust him a little bit more.
Here's a question: is he going to be available? Because I heard he's doing a Head and Shoulders ad that day.
Hey, well, the guy's got some nice hair.
He's capable.
I thought
just
Jared
hasn't been
Weaver
very
had
good.
nicer hair.
That's the problem. When you say capable and you're talking about first starter in the playoffs, that is the worst word you want to use.
Doesn't Jared Weaver have nicer hair? I thought he had nice longer locks.
No, that was his brother.
No, Jared Weaver had longer hair.
No, that was Jeff Weaver.
No, Jared Weaver had longer hair.
Why are we having this argument on the show?
Because he has nice hair. The man has a good head of hair.
All we've done is talk about negative things on the show today. We've talked about the Macklin injury, the Garrett Richards injury, and how they're negatively affecting the playoffs. How about we talk about something positive? I believe
because there's still more news to talk about.
Well, Garrett's
blunt. Good.
Yeah, I don't even want to bring that up. We said we were going to bring it up today. Are we talking about those two?
No, we don't have to talk about it.
You know what bothers? I mean, like, this guy has a history of getting into trouble.
LeGarrette Blount?
Yes.
Yeah, hitting people.
And
yeah.
and I really think he's corrupting the little guy.
He could be. You're right.
I think that's what's going on.
Did you see the report that they were in a car, those two together, and then a woman, but they all tried to claim ownership of the marijuana?
Well, you know what? I don't
understand that.
I don't have a problem with that. Everybody's got each other's backs.
They all get each other's backs, and then everybody
now they're all
gets
going
the
to jail.
charge.
Yeah.
Rather than one person being like...
Thank you. That's exactly what you're supposed to do.
That's what when I saw that they both got the charge, I'm like, why didn't one of them just say it was them and take the hit?
That's what I'm saying.
Hey, Blount, you're a backup, buddy. Come on, do your job.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Le'Veon Bell has a future. LeGarrette Blount is just a mix-in running back. And Andy has a history of getting in trouble. He should have been like, yo, dude, I got this one because I'm already, getting
in trouble
for everything.
It's a lot of weed, too.
Yeah.
20 grams?
Yeah.
It's over an ounce.
Well, maybe they were having a party.
I think they were having a party. Yeah. Driving to the game that they were playing the next day. That's
not over an ounce, by the way.
So now that what's an ounce?
28.
Why are we talking about this on the air? Why are we doing this? This is a horrible conversation.
Because the law is the law. It's a misdemeanor, which is nice, good for Pennsylvania.
Oh, goody.
And it's good for them.
Pay a fine. I swear, if these two get suspended for any more than Ray Rice got suspended for knocking his wife unconscious, I'm going to go to Roger Goodell's office, and I can't make the comment I'm about to comment on because we're on the air, and I'll get in trouble for it.
Isn't it crazy because of how they do the different types of testing and the scheduling and all that stuff that they can't just be like, oh, you got caught with 20 grams. We're going to test you, and then you're going to get a game suspension.
Well, not even that because, if it's a first offense, it's nothing. It's counseling. Second offense, I think, is something. And then third offense is apparently a season.
I mean, what the dude is in the middle of preseason getting ready for the year, which is one of his biggest years, and he's rolling around with 20 grams.
Well, okay, we've had this discussion before. I know it is not a good idea. You know it's illegal. You know that it's not acceptable, so no, you should not be doing it. But at the same time, it's like, it's marijuana, man. Like, this is not a big deal.
It does not matter.
It shouldn't be a big deal. That's
illegal.
all I'm saying.
It's illegal.
It is
According to the NFL,
You're
it
right.
is the worst thing you could possibly do to your body.
Apparently it is.
Makes no sense.
It's a performance-enhancing drug, especially when you have a big candy bar at the end of the run. Thank you, Robin Williams.
It sounds like you're experienced with this.
No, not really.
No.
I mean, that's the way you're talking.
I dabble just here and there.
All right, we need to move on to the New Orleans Saints, a team that is not plagued by, drug-related charges. They're just plagued by paying to hit people.
Thank you. I was going to say.
Yeah, they have their demons, as does apparently every NFL team except the Jaguars, because nobody cares about them. They don't do anything. They're just going to Disney World.
Slaying.
What?
No, I'm agreeing with you. You definitely
slayed
played
the Jaguar.
Yeah, I did. That tends to happen. All right, so we're talking about the 2014-15. We're moving into the NFC South because we finished up with the good divisions, and then we got the best one. We saved the best division in football for last, obviously, the NFC West. The NFC South is an interesting beast. We had a really bad team last year in Atlanta who should have been good. We had Carolina come out of nowhere to be extremely good. New Orleans is New Orleans.
After losing to the Bills early in the year, too. That was interesting. They just rattled off a bunch of wins.
This is true. New Orleans was New Orleans, and then you had that last team, that Tampa team, which I have absolutely no idea what we're getting out of this team. No idea.
Lovie Smith is a good coach.
Okay.
See what happens.
The difference between having a quote-unquote capable coach and a dumpster fire like they had last year in Greg Schiano, I think that's probably good for at least 2 wins.
This is the division that I'm actually most excited to talk about because there's so much fluctuation going on here.
Yep.
There's so many questions on all these different teams except the one we're talking about today.
Yeah, the biggest question of the offseason, I'm sure we'll get to after the break, is how good can this offense be? Because last year they were 4th overall, and this year probably the same.
Yep.
Although they did lose quite a bit of what you'd call star power on offense. Darren Sproles is considered one of the guys for that team. He went away. Drew Brees made a big deal about them getting rid of him. So,
well, he loved Darren Sproles. He was one of the reasons that Darren Sproles came to New Orleans. I think he was the reason. He loved him when he played with him in San Diego. So.
Yep, he was. Yeah, he was the guy.
Yeah, what is not to love about a guy that's going to run the ball hard, catch as many backfield passes as he possibly can? Gotta love him, right?
Yeah, well, they have 15 running backs. So.
Yeah, that is true. We'll talk about all of the running backs New Orleans has and the rest of the outlook for the 2014-15 New Orleans Saints. And you'll listen to the Star Fantasy League show on 105.5 The Team.
The Star Fantasy League Show. Information is key to being a successful fantasy team owner, and the guys have all the updated info you need right now. Okay, fantasy sports fans.
There's a letter in your mailbox.
Time to dig into Donald's mailbag for your questions and comments.
Read the mail, read the mail, read the mail.
Jump in the game. Send your questions and comments to the Star Fantasy League's team by tweeting at SFL Show.
We are back, and we're still talking about the New Orleans Saints. Who dat?
Oh, and the Saints.
I have to say, I had the pleasure of being in New Orleans this April for a large event at the Pontiac Silverdome, according to a certain person.
Well, we weren't at the Silverdome.
It's called the Superdome, but a certain
where were we?
certain man called.
What was it called?
The Smoothie King.
Yeah, Smoothie King.
Oh, the Smoothie King Arena. Yeah, I went there too.
We got to see a Pelicans
we went there
game.
Twice.
Yeah,
but seriously, how amazing is how amazing is just the culture and the fandom of the people in New Orleans?
I love that city. That is one of my favorites in the U.S.
For a team that had such bad home field support and being really bad at home, the past 4 or 5 years, their home field advantage has been amazing.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think that Hurricane Katrina had a ton to do with that because all of a sudden the Superdome became a beacon of hope for people, and then it was just, as soon as the Saints came back, it was like, this is our city, let's rally, and now they have Drew Brees, who's throwing for 5,000 yards every season. It is a really cool feeling to be down there, and it's really awesome to see that city thriving now.
Yep, not only are they thriving, but the offense is thriving for New Orleans, 4th overall last year, but surprisingly, the defense under Rob Ryan, not the Rex, not the tiny one, the big one now.
The Rex.
That's how you can distinguish between the Ryan
that's
brothers. True. One of them got the lap band. The other one decided, I like being fat. It's cool.
Yeah, and he also likes long hair.
Yeah, and one of them is just like
creepy looking.
Yeah.
Yeah. Rob Ryan's. But you see him on the sidelines. You're like, I hope he
grizzly.
Doesn't, yeah, I hope he doesn't run at
grizzly.
me. I don't want to deal with him. But
he
yeah,
has no problem with it.
Rob Ryan's a creepy looking dude, but man, does he get it done on defense.
And he doesn't have a foot fetish.
Which is surprising because last year was his first year with New Orleans, correct?
Correct.
And then
because the guy before that decided to get himself suspended for 2 seasons.
Yeah, that's true. But the year before he was in Dallas, and Dallas was nothing special. I know they were way worse last year.
Okay, they were better than they were before he got there. I think he was there for a couple of years, and they were like horrible before that, and then they got a little bit better.
Sure.
To be fair,
last year was a serious transition.
Yeah. To be fair, that Dallas team had a lot of underlying issues with spending money in the wrong places, and they still do.
Yeah, they still do. Yeah. That's true.
Plus,
they have a jack of all trades running the entire organization.
Yeah.
Which doesn't really work.
No, it's pretty much
except they are the most valuable franchise in the NFL.
Well, yeah, because
that's nice.
Money.
They can't put a winner on the field, so whatever.
That is very true. But we're talking about the New Orleans Saints, and they certainly can put a winner on the field. 11-5 last year. Didn't win the NFC South. Can you believe that?
Yeah, Carolina really came out of nowhere.
And
doesn't make sense.
The funny thing is 8 in a row.
Yep.
Yeah. The funny thing is, not only did they come out of nowhere, but this year I figured they're going to go back to nowhere. They're going to go back to where they came from. They'll probably be a 9-7 team, 8-8 team, something like that.
I totally agree. I think that's kind of the feeling that a lot of people have in
that happens
in
the NFL too. It happens every year.
What would be shocking though, and really kind of make somebody's career, is if they did win. Cam Newton, if he was able to lead that team and really just continue a win, we might have to talk about him in the top.
Don't jump the shark. We're going to talk about the Carolina Panthers.
Fair enough.
You know what? The way we've been doing is we've been talking about
the shark.
Yeah.
How do you jump the shark?
What does that mean?
You don't know
I don't know.
Don't get ahead of it.
I have no idea what jump the shark is.
Okay. Are you jumping on?
I will say, like I said, I'm trying to resist jumping around and talking about the other teams. I'm trying to stick with the Saints.
Sorry,
that's what I'm saying.
I will stick with the Saints.
The whole thing is we're talking about all 32 teams. If you talk about too many in one day, the people get confused.
Our heads explode.
Fair enough.
Yes, it's true. The head of the shark explodes. Things happen. All right, so let's talk about what this team did in the offseason, because if your offense and defense is that good, really what is there to do? But they went out and they got new playmakers on offense, new playmakers on defense. I think this team is just heading absolutely in the right direction.
Yeah, I mean, this is gonna be another great offensive season for them. I think we know that. They added Jarris Byrd, and that's, I think, the biggest signing of the offseason.
For anybody.
Yeah, they really pairing him with Kenny Vaccaro is going to be lethal. Kenny Vaccaro had a great rookie season. He's a hard hitter over the middle. Jarris Byrd is a ball hawk, and he can kind of do anything he needs to in center field. This is going to be a really good defense.
They let a lot of players go on defense, which is pretty surprising. Will Smith had a great tenure there. Roman Harper, Jabari Greer. Some of these guys are household names that aren't going to be there anymore.
I think that Roman Harper's okay to let go because they replaced him with somebody better. Jabari Greer is going to be replaced by Champ Bailey.
Yeah,
Champ Bailey. You know what? I know they have issues. I know he's old, but at the same time, he was hampered by an injury.
Well, let's say last year did he end up playing like 2 games or something like that at the end?
I can't believe he's still playing.
Well, not only did
36.
Yeah, but the year before that, I think it was the 2012-13 season, he actually played really well. So he went down with the injury, but the year before he was playing up to par for his career.
Rob Ryan is really high on him.
I would say, even if he's a replacement value player, if he's okay as a second cornerback on this team, that's really good.
Well, evidently they had enough confidence in him to bring him on. So.
Yep.
Well, and if he's still slated to start, that means he's still got it. He's clearly going through the motions. He's in practice every day. They know what they're getting with him. I think they're going to be fine with him.
Yeah, I really don't want to see this type of player, one of the best cornerbacks of all time, go out in a bad way. So I do hope that he has a good year.
Yeah, I think all of us feel that same way. I was kind of shocked to see how high they were in sacks last season. I know they did draft Cameron Jordan a couple seasons ago. He's been fantastic. The guy is a beast on the defensive line. So they finished 4th in sacks with 49. I don't know. I would not be surprised to see this team 13-3, 14-2. They have all the pieces they need.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about who they're playing this season. They're playing the AFC North, not the greatest division in football. They're going to have some tough matchups against some defenses in Pittsburgh, Baltimore, and Cincinnati. But they're also playing the NFC North, your NFC North. You were there?
14-2?
Yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised.
That's a bit
Holy
aggressive.
crap.
I wouldn't be surprised.
It's a bit aggressive. I was gonna gloss over it and then make fun of them 6 months from now when we have to talk about it.
I would not be surprised.
You know what?
I'm
You know
always
how
confident in
hard
my Packers.
14-2 is.
Oh,
very difficult.
Yeah, no, I haven't watched the NFL for 25 years. No, I don't.
Why
know.
are you even on this show?
I don't know. I don't know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, can you?
Sure.
We can get Seth on. He watches like one game a
Yes,
season.
no, I remember Marty Schottenheimer's team going 14-2 and getting slammed in the playoffs. So yes, I know how hard 14-2 is.
I remember that as well. They didn't get slammed in the playoffs.
Yes, they did.
No, they did not. They screwed themselves.
Okay, fine.
They
screwed
picked off Tom Brady to win the game, and then they fumbled the pickoff and gave them back the ball, and New England won the game.
Slammed in the playoffs.
Okay. Yeah, okay, that's not it. All right, outside of the AFC North and the NFC North, their other two games are Dallas and San Francisco. Not the easiest schedule in the world for this team. That's why I think probably a 11-5, 12-4 is where I'm going to see them at.
If you want to take the 13-3 line, I can go with
The
you.
over-
Did you
Over-under
guys
for-
hear my words?
the
You
over-under
listen
for
to
this
me when
team
I
is
talk?
10.5.
I said I wouldn't be surprised. Would not be surprised. If
All right,
I was
so
a
what- all
betting
right.
man, I would say probably 11-5 is
Yeah.
a good way to go.
That's exactly
a
where I got them
safe
at.
play.
I think Vegas has them either at 10.5 or 11 wins. I believe that's where they're
Nobody
at.
listens to me on this show. It's unbelievable.
Nobody listens
Nobody
to you
wants
at
to
all?
listen.
All right, so let's talk about this offense since we are a fantasy show. It is called Star Fantasy League Show for a reason. StarFantasyLeagues.com. Get in the game. Join some season-long leagues today. We got some bonus codes for you coming up later in the show. You have to listen for that, though. We're gonna hide that for you.
The Broncos will probably go undefeated. I wouldn't be surprised.
Great. Thank you for that. All right, so we need to talk about some camp battles going on here. There are so many cooks in the kitchen, literally and figuratively, in the wide receiver and running back game that I don't know what the heck this team's going to look like. I know that Drew Brees and Jimmy Graham are going to get theirs, and the rest of the team, I have no clue.
Really? I mean, I feel like we have a pretty good idea.
Okay,
of what
we
they're
assume that Pierre Thomas is going to catch, 70 balls again?
Well, okay, hang on a second. Now, everybody overlooks that when they look at Pierre Thomas because they see Darren Sproles next to him, and they're like, oh, yeah, Darren Sproles, he's a passing back, so he must take everything. Pierre Thomas outperformed Darren Sproles in the passing game last year. He had a few more catches, and he had more touchdowns. I would not be surprised to see him scoop up more.
His numbers weren't great. I mean,
Would not be surprised.
He had 500. He had just over 1,000 yards total, but only 5 touchdowns. That's a
I
little
mean,
worrying.
Jimmy Graham's the touchdown vulture of this entire team. 16 last year.
That's what I'm saying. If you aren't, I mean, are you really targeting anybody not named Brees?
Yeah.
As long as you get him in the
yeah.
right spots. Honestly.
I would definitely still go with Colston. I know Zach and I have differing opinions on him. Pierre Thomas I love as a RB2. I think he's a solid RB2. So I think both of those guys. And then you could definitely take a flyer on Cooks or Stills. One of those guys should be able to get some sort of action.
That's the problem. What does the depth chart look like right now? I'm assuming Colston is still technically the number one receiver.
He is the number one. I mean, last season he missed 1,000 yards for the first time since I think 2008.
Yeah, he missed it by quite a bit though. 57 yards, 57.
Yeah, but
so
he
far
also,
away.
He also played 15 games, so my assumption is he would have been over 1,000.
That was
if he played
sarcasm.
the last
57 yards. That's not that much.
I like Stills a lot, actually.
You do?
Yeah, I think that this is a guy that could take that next step. And he's a huge threat for the deep ball, which they need because Colston really can't get the deep ball as much anymore.
There was
kind of
like a mix between Lance Moore and who else was there?
I think yes, they picked up Brandon Cooks, which is great, but rookies, especially wide receivers, always have a maturation process. Usually, I think one of the only guys that we could see not having to go through that is Kelvin Benjamin, just because they don't have any. They don't have anybody.
True.
But
you don't think Sammy Watkins is going to have that same type of go in there right away and have an impact? He's going to have to.
He's going to have to, but not where he's going. I think Kelvin Benjamin, he's going is
he's the
fantasy
overreaction of the year. Basically, he's going. Oh, he's got to be the number one. Let's draft him as if he is a number one.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. I think you're right on there. I think Stills definitely has the potential between.
I mean, he is the number two. I think Brandon Cooks. What you're going to see out of him is some Cordarrelle Patterson type stuff.
Yeah.
Early on, in terms of being a change of pace guy, having some involvement in special teams, some unique plays drawn up for him. But I think Kenny Stills is the clear-cut number two.
Where's Brandon Cooks been going? What's his ADP?
Way too high.
His
It is way
ADP
too
currently is 68 in the 6th round. That's insane.
That is way too high.
That's insane.
He is right now on the depth chart. He is a third receiver. Like you said, he's a rookie. Drew Brees is comfortable. He knows his offense. He knows Colston, Graham, his running backs. Why would he spend a ton of time and effort getting a third receiver rookie involved?
I agree. What do you feel like his ceiling is as a third receiver? Going that high, you'd expect around 1,000 yards. I think his ceiling is probably like 700 yards.
Yeah, I was going to say 600.
I was going to say pretty much what Kenny Stills did last year.
Yeah, exactly.
Which, if you're drafting him in the 6th round, is the biggest reach you could possibly go for. That's just those numbers.
I mean, there's been a lot of commotion about this guy. I think he's got a great future in the league. All signs point to that. But first year, that just doesn't happen. And where he's going,
you can get Golden Tate, Torrey Smith,
Reggie
Wallace,
Wayne.
Reggie Wayne. All of these guys have proven themselves to be good
and that's
receivers.
where he's going.
Or you can wait,
guys, which is crazy.
Or you can wait a while and get Kelvin Benjamin, like we
exactly.
said.
I don't do any of those things. It's just not.
It's
that's
unacceptable.
It's not where you're supposed to draft him.
Unacceptable.
If he drops to the 11th, 12th round, fine, take a flyer.
But guess what? Not going to happen. Not going to happen. All right, coming back after the break, we are talking our mock draft we've been talking about all week long, evaluating our teams, and we're going to continue talking about the draft positions of each and every one of the New Orleans Saints. And you're listening to the Star Fantasy League show on 105.5 The Team.
Play fantasy sports for cash prizes. Join the top daily and weekly fantasy leagues in the country at starfantasyleagues.com. Now, back to the Star Fantasy League show with Donald, Teddy Bear 2, and the Deucey Moose. Only on the Team.
We are back on the Star Fantasy League show with Teddy, Deucey, and Donald. We are breaking down the New Orleans Saints fantasy prospects, ADP, all those good letters that fantasy players love to hear. Do you believe in ADP?
Well, I think it's something that you need to look at. I mean, what do you mean as far as how accurate it is?
Yeah, I mean, when you're making a fantasy cheat sheet for yourself, do you use somebody else's cheat sheet or do you basically make one?
I compile my own.
Okay, yeah, I was going to say, because I mean, I usually take from a couple sites, write them down, say where I like somebody, if I think they're doing too high, too low, and then if they go past a certain number, I'm like, you kind of have. That's how I do it.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think the first thing that you want to do is target. Put together a list of players that you want to target, the guys that you like a lot.
And rounds that you should be seeing if they're on the board.
And then you really want to go ahead.
It's a good barometer.
It is
what it is, because you know around when they're going, and based on how you favor that person, you might say, I could take this person in the 6th round. I want them on my team, but there's a good chance I'm going to get them in the 7th, so I'm going to wait.
Yep. I mean, the other thing is, once you get into the draft, you never know what's going to happen.
Yeah, it's
you never know what's going to happen. You could get into the 6th round, and you're like, man, I really, really want to take Torrey Smith, but then all of a sudden, Roddy White is still there for some reason. You got to take guys like that. You just got to kind of wait and see. So I would do as many mock drafts as you can leading up to the draft. Make sure that you know the guys that you want to target, where they're going, and then try to go ahead.
I like that segue. We're going to talk about mock drafts in just a bit, but we are still talking about the 2014-15 New Orleans Saints fantasy prospects. We are talking ADP here. The big guy on this team is Jimmy Graham. He was what you'd call injured last season. He was basically limping through games. I think he played like 30% of the snaps one week and still got 100 yards and 2 touchdowns in 1 week.
It's unbelievable.
The guy's a
16
beast.
touchdowns is ridiculous.
Well, he had 86 receptions, but if he was playing more in the games he was quote-unquote injured, then he could have easily had 100 catches. That's what he's at. 100 catches, probably 1,500 yards. 16 touchdowns is a little high. I'd expect that to come down probably to around like 10 to 12-ish.
Yeah, I mean,
16's high.
I would too, but at the same time, we know what they want to do around the goal line.
Well,
there's nobody that can match up with them.
And you know what? That brings up a good question that I want to talk about before the break. We didn't get to it. Pierre Thomas is still there. He caught 77 balls last year. Darren Sproles, he caught a lot of balls. He is now gone. The other 2 running backs caught a combined 7 passes last season. Where do we think all of those passes are getting distributed to? Is it receivers? Is it Jimmy Graham? Or is it Kyrie Robinson and Mark Ingram? Like, who's getting the rest of these catches?
I don't know if they change. I mean, maybe they changed their offense a little bit.
I would think they change it slightly. I mean, Pierre Thomas is going to be the guy. I mean, there's a chance that you could see an uptick for him. It's hard to see Mark Ingram or Kyrie Robinson having that much of an impact.
I think Mark Ingram goes down in value and Kyrie Robinson comes up a little bit because he actually looked pretty good in the end of that season. He played in the playoffs pretty well as well.
I don't know. I think it's kind of a coin flip between the two, honestly, just because no Sproles means that there is room there. I mean, they were literally going 50-50 with Pierre and Darren Sproles. So somebody's going to come in. Mark Ingram is still a talent. I mean, the guy was unbelievable in college, and then he came to the pros, and everybody thought he was going to be great. Then he just fit into the system. It was kind of like, where does he fit?
It's one of the
weird
weirder
fit.
situations that we have seen because he never really got the opportunity to take that leap necessarily.
Yep.
And we don't really know whether he could have. But it seems like seeing him over the past couple of years that he's right where he needs to be.
It would help if he could catch the ball.
Well, he said that he wants to be more involved in the offense, or in the passing game, but just because you want to doesn't mean that you have the skills to.
The opportunity is on this team, especially. The opportunity is there if you can prove that you can catch the ball.
I think the one that you want to focus on is Pierre Thomas, obviously, and then I think you might want to pick Kyrie Robinson. I think
very late.
Yes, very late. But taking a flyer on him, I might feel more confident just because we know what Mark Ingram really does. He really just runs the ball. It doesn't really fit into the passing game.
You know what the funny thing is? Kyrie Robinson is currently going in the 10th round. Mark Ingram's going a little, 4 spots after him. I think Mark Ingram's a joke. I don't touch him in the 10th, 11th round. Kyrie, if he drops to the 11th round, I would definitely consider him. Because I think he can, if he can show that he can catch the ball this season, I think he's going to be in for a lot more production.
I wouldn't be surprised if they do a little Darren Sproles stuff with Brandon Cooks. I wouldn't be surprised at all.
I would.
I can definitely see that happening. Like we said, I don't think he's going to be the big impact guy, but I think for those types of plays, he could be perfect to get involved.
Well, if he starts doing that, then he may end up being a little better than we thought. But again, we talked about earlier, Brandon Cooks in the 6th round, stay away. Rookie receivers do not deserve to be going that high unless they are the number 1 guy, and even so, you're just not going to get the production.
He's clearly not.
Not going to happen. All right, let's talk about it. Jimmy Graham, are you ever taking him at where he's going right now, 1st round, 8th overall, or are you pretty much spending it on top running back?
Yeah, no, I'm not.
Number 1 receiver.
I'm not. I know the case. I understand that he gets a ton of points. There's just too much that you need to get with your first 2 picks.
Yeah,
there really is. You need to get running backs. You need to get wide receivers if they're that great. I can't do it. I got
him end of the 2nd round last year. End of the 2nd round. Because I remember I picked him the last of the 2nd round, and my 3rd round pick was another running back. I was like, I can't believe this is available.
You know, I think one of the strategies that's kind of emerged over the past couple of years, people taking 2 top tight ends and then using a tight end in the flex position. I just don't understand that because now what you're talking about is you're talking about taking Graham and Gronk or Graham and Julius Thomas, and even still, you're wasting 2 of your first 3 picks.
Yeah, what do your running backs and wide receivers look like if that's your strategy? They don't look good. I can tell you that.
No, they don't. I can't see. I don't. The only thing is if you could still figure that you can get 2 starting running backs in the first 4 rounds, then you know that the wide receiver pool is deep. I don't know. I think it's a little bit of a stretch. I think it's a gamble.
I don't really mind that strategy.
Really?
Well, because the where those 3 guys are now, I mean, if the concern for me right now is whether Gronk is healthy or not and whether he can stay healthy, which is kind of why I'm shying away from him, especially where he's going. But if I had Jimmy Graham and I'm looking at Julius Thomas and he falls a little bit more than I expected, these are two guys that are going to get you steady production.
And there's always one fantasy owner in your league who will wait too long. I'm looking at you, Nick, and will miss out on a top tight end. I know it's from one mock draft. It was a joke, but
why are you looking at me?
Because in our mock draft we're talking about
because you have Austin Seferian-Jenkins.
You did. You missed out.
Thank you, SFL bots.
Yes,
we salute you.
But I'm saying if there's always one owner who is starting somebody like 10 years ago, you're starting Bubba Franks every year. You're like, that's weird.
Don't you dare hate on Bubba Franks.
I love that I got that in because you got really angry.
Bubba Franks is a legend.
You know what I'm talking about. Somebody who's starting a tight end that you know they shouldn't be starting and can easily trade you too much for a Julius Thomas.
Sure. Yeah, sure. That's a definite point. I like that.
Yeah, I mean, there are only 8 or 9 guys you really want to be starting, and if it's a 12-team league, there's 3 guys you can target there.
Did you see how I complimented you there, John?
That was nice.
I know, I just let it happen.
That's sweet of him.
I just let it happen.
Way to go.
All right, the last guys I want to talk about are Drew Brees. If he's going in the 2nd round, kind of late-ish, like the second half of the 2nd round, but if he drops to the 3rd, like you said, he's kind of there.
So I have to address something because Zach did make a pretty good point. If you're in a 10-team league, he is right. You know what? Taking Drew Brees in the top 3 rounds is a little bit of a stretch. It's not. That might be a bit of a stretch.
12-team leagues.
You still know what you're going to get. You got a guy that's going to push for 5,000 yards, could throw for 45 touchdowns. He really is going to be a stud. I do know that the QB pool is pretty deep.
Yeah, Matt Stafford you can get 3 rounds later with almost the same production if he plays up to par.
14 teams, 16 teams, those deeper leagues. definitely would take him in the third round. Definitely would, even maybe in a 16-teamer, consider the late second round.
I don't even know if I've ever played a 16-teamer.
No, I know, but there are tons of people out there too.
They do exist.
Right. Yeah, I mean, Drew Brees, it just depends on what your strategy is. If you get in a position where you're in the third round and he's still there, and you're looking at running backs, and maybe, Rashad Jennings is still there, that's about it. And then you're looking at wide receivers, and you've already dipped down maybe you're at Andre Johnson level or something like that.
That sounds about right for the third.
It's an option. To take him is definitely an option at that point. If you're looking at the running backs and wide receivers and saying, this wasn't what I hoped it would be.
What about if you get Jimmy Graham, you're going to get him probably somewhere in the middle of the first round, right? And then, you come back on the way, you get a wide receiver or running back that you like, and then Drew Brees falls to you in the third round. Now you have Jimmy Graham, who it's his number one target, and you get a chance at Drew Brees. I think you have to pull the trigger. I don't think there's a choice there. I really don't. I think that is a perfect pairing. That's another one of those, like Calvin Johnson, Matthew Stafford. Those guys that are just going to be the number one target for those quarterbacks, and you're doubling down on points every week.
Perfect. All right, the last thing I wanted to talk about is Colston and Stills. We already talked about Brandon Cooks just insanely high. Colston's going in the 7th round. Stills all the way in the 11th and 12th rounds. Either of those guys interest you?
I love Colston in the 7th. I do.
I think that we talked about this a little bit before we got on. I think there's too many guys around him that I would rather take. I think he's declining.
All right, then who would you prefer?
I'd prefer Reggie Wayne.
Okay.
I'd prefer Mike Wallace.
God, stop bringing up Mike Wallace's name. I don't even want to hear. I had the unenviable task of actually drafting him once.
Torrey Smith has been moving up a bit.
Yeah, he has.
But I have seen him down there with Colston. What are the other guys that we've got around there?
If we are going here, where am I? I'm not looking at things. Golden Tate again. Golden Tate is absolute no-brainer.
Golden Tate. So all those guys are right around there.
Well, apparently not, because he still hasn't moved up draft boards, and I'm really still surprised at that. I don't understand why Golden Tate isn't going higher.
Yeah, can we do an entire segment dedicated to where Golden Tate is going? Do they realize he's lining up next to Calvin Johnson in an offense that's probably going to have 5,000 yards passing?
They finally have one consistent receiver in him. Finally.
Yeah, I mean, the whole thing we talk about is, Matthew Stafford can't throw to anybody else. The problem is nobody else was there to throw to.
But here's the thing. I would take him over, some of the other guys that are there, like Sanders and Cook. Obviously, Cooks. We've already talked about.
Yeah, I'm with
Cook.
you.
Sanders.
There's yet to be any reports out of Sanders right now, which is really bothering me. He's had 20. I know, John.
I'm going to say dropsicle again.
He's had 21 snaps so far and hasn't had a target.
He's not.
I find it very concerning, especially where he's going when you have guys that are proven. I'm not saying that Marcus Colston isn't a good option. I'm just saying that if you look at the numbers, what he did last year compared to the previous 3 shows some decline.
But last year, come on though. Last year he missed one game.
Yeah,
and
look in
he's one step below.
In 2011, he missed 2, and he had 1,150 yards.
Okay, but if that's what all that he's missing, that's not a ton. That's really not that bad. And he gets 1,000 yards,
his
80
TDs
catches.
went down significantly.
Well, yeah, because Jimmy Graham had an absolutely ridiculous touchdown.
Okay, so
season.
then he plays one more game, probably gets 5 catches and 60 yards, so he gets 80 and 1,000, and he might score.
I'm not trying to badmouth him. I'm just saying the guys that I would take over him.
My point is that he's consistent. I know that you know where the ceiling is. He's not going to get you 1,500 yards and 12 touchdowns.
But from a guy in the 7th round, is that something you want to see?
I want to see consistency.
I want to see
no.
more
I want
upside.
I want a guy
out of the guys that I mentioned, who would you not take?
What do you mean? Out of who? Wallace, Wayne, Tate? I love all of them. I love every single one.
Wow, look at him picking something. He actually made a decision. Wait, no, he didn't.
Any one of them are good.
All right, coming out the break, we're giving you some draft breakdowns for your mocks and season-long leagues, and you're listening to the Star Fantasy League Show on 105.5 The Team.
You're listening to the Star Fantasy League Show. Contact the StarFantasyLeagues.com guys via Twitter at SFL Show.
All right, guys. After that nice little fight over Marcus Colston, I figured I'd separate you two, put you in different corners, and put you on timeout. You guys okay?
You want a few guys I would take?
No. All right. No.
I do. I do
Colston?
want a couple guys.
All right. Fine.
But I want them to be out of the group that I just mentioned.
Sure. I would take him over Cordarrelle Patterson. I would take him over T.Y. Hilton. I would take him over Percy Harvin. And
me too.
I would
Yep,
take
me
him
too.
over Brandon Cooks, obviously,
Yep,
and
me
Emmanuel
too.
Sanders. There's 5 guys I would take him over, and
Okay.
all of them are going way higher.
All right. I was talking about Golden Tate, Mike Wallace, Reggie Wayne, and somebody else.
All
You
right.
said outside of that group.
No, all right. This conversation is going absolutely
in the
nowhere.
group.
You're agreeing the conversation is going nowhere. I need to steer this conversation in a better direction. Positivity. I'm going to give you a 100% bonus to $2,000 on StarFantasyLeagues.com if you sign up right now. You also get an $11 cash credit in your account immediately, no matter how much you deposit.
That's what I'm talking about.
Wow, thanks. That bonus code, if you haven't heard it before, is FREE14, FREE14, 100% to 2,000 and $11 credit. What gets better than that? Nothing.
Marcus Colson.
Thank you. I was waiting for something like that.
Yeah,
All right.
I was trying to come up with something.
Yeah,
along
but the
those
thing
lines.
is, we did a mock draft all week. We've been talking about it. We haven't talked about any of our later picks because you guys just fought about New Orleans all day. It was great. So let's talk about it. If you're going into a draft, what is your initial strategy? 12-team PPR league. What are you going into a draft thinking? Like, do you have a strategy planned out? Do you know where you're picking? Are you looking? Are you figuring out your strategy right away?
I always have a strategy. Yes. Things pop up throughout the course of the draft.
Is it based on where you're drafting first?
Yes.
Absolutely.
100% based off that?
Yeah, if I'm in the top 4, maybe 5 guys in Nick's case, I'm looking at running backs right away. I might take Calvin Johnson at 5, or I might take Eddie Lacy. I'm not sure.
Yep.
And then if I'm down there a little bit, if I'm down at 7, I'm looking for Jimmy Graham falling to me.
Okay.
If I'm down at 8 or 9, I'm looking at Gio. Monte Ball's been going later, which is really surprising to me. And then and after Gio, I'm looking at the big wide receivers.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, I would agree completely. And then based on that really determines how you're going to attack the rest of the draft. Personally, I think that you should pair either a running back with a running back or a wide receiver with a wide receiver because then you have a solid base. And then once you get later into the draft, it really depends on where you started. If you started in the first couple of picks, towards the end, you're going to want to back up those top running backs like Adrian Peterson with Matt Asiata, LaShawn McCoy with Chris Polk. And if you're in the later rounds or the later back half of that round, then you can start going flyers. Then you're talking about just taking a flyer on Andre Holmes or Marcus Wheaton and those kind of guys. Because if you have that ability, if you don't have to back anybody up.
I'm really glad that you said Marcus Wheaton is a flyer because people have been saying he's a sleeper and he's moving up into an area that I'm not comfortable taking him with because I haven't seen anything about it. Like last night, didn't do anything.
Well, last night I think was tough, but again, I don't put a lot of stock into preseason.
That is true, but I haven't heard anything come out of camp about him at all.
I have heard a little bit. I have heard that he and Ben Roethlisberger have had a good rapport. But he's a good guy to take a flyer on just because that he is coming into his second season. He has had a chance to get some sort of rapport with his starting quarterback.
And his name isn't Limas Sweed, who couldn't catch the ball and couldn't produce in Pittsburgh at all.
Truly
Right now, I'm looking at the receivers in 6th, 7th, 8th, and I can get because there's so many guys that could potentially be number ones down there. Then when I go past that, I'm looking at those like high-end backup running backs when I'm in the 9th, 10th, 11th round.
Tell us
and
again.
then I'm taking wide receiver flyers.
Yeah, who are those guys, the running backs in the later rounds that you're looking at?
I love Devontae Freeman, Jeremy Hill, Terrence West, Carlos Hyde. All those guys are worth looks. But I think Devontae Freeman could take the job.
They are all worth looks, but you know what's worth the biggest look of all? Playing at StarFantasyLeagues.com and using the bonus code FREE14, FREE14. It's our biggest bonus ever. 100% to $2,000 on your deposit and an $11 credit directly to play any game you want. Join some mock drafts at StarFantasyLeagues.com today. We'll be playing in there. We'll talk to you. We'll have some fun. Football is 2 weeks away, guys.
I can't believe it.
And don't forget about all the guys that you can take over Marcus Colston.
That is true. And if you aren't as high on Marcus Colston as this little guy over here, Nick.
Bagger.
Yeah, you're getting sandbag. Take it easy, guys.